So we're getting a little bit of a clunking sound that sounds like it's coming from deep inside the dryer. I can sort of simulate it by putting my thumb on this wheel. Right there, that clunking sound. When in operation, it's only happening maybe twice a minute, so every 20 or 30 seconds. And eventually what will happen is the Easy controller will say there's a printer jam in the processor section, but there isn't. It's just the delay. So inside the dryer there's a drive for the dryer rack, and there's a plastic gear, and it has some teeth that are really worn down. I've already looked at it. Today I'm going to replace it. So here's the gear compared to the new one. And look on the left side there, look how there's just like a little bit left there, and it shows you what the full tooth was at one point. I'm pretty sure that's the problem. I think the metal gear looks a little suspicious too, but I doubt that it's as worn down. That's where the bearing is behind it. I'm gonna leave it in there, not gonna touch it. Just gonna replace the gear and see how it goes. There's other gears in here, but I think this is the one that's really the problem. And then on the dryer itself, pretty sure it mates up with this one, and I think that's a little suspicious looking too. But it doesn't look to be anywhere near as worn as this one is. So now that I've rebuilt these couple of little parts here, I've got the new gear there, that's new, I cleaned it up. That's the new gear there. We're gonna swap this out on this machine. To do it, there's two pieces. This is the lower piece, it's got the main worm drive gear on it. There's two screws here, one there and one over there. And to get to that one, you have to take out this plastic thing, which is one screw there. And then there's a little clip over here. You just lift and move this around and the whole thing slides up. This upper piece here is three screws, one there, one there, one there. And this is where they're sort of adjustable, so knowing where they were, it's kind of helpful. And then this is where I'm saying it needs to butt up against that screw. And then hopefully everything just magically works again. There's other screws in here, but they're screwing stuff onto this plate. It's just these screws stick off that and those two lower screws. So originally we replaced this black gear here, trying to fix the thudding sound that was coming from the dryer as it was skipping once in a while. This gear is clearly bad, but even with the new one on there, it was still doing it. So now we've also replaced this metal gear. And if you look at it, look how much is gone from the teeth. The new one has a normal shaped tooth, but if you look at the old one, there's like a little ridge line in there. And there is lots of kind of greenish dust in here that I think is from whatever this brass piece is, oxidizing or something like that. So we've replaced that. We've also, and this piece here fits in the dryer section. You have to take out the dryer racks, and it fits in here. There's a couple of screws. It has some adjustment to it. And then there's this screw here that's preset that tells you how to, once you put it in there, you move it against that set screw so that it's in the right spot. Originally, I've already done this a couple of times, taken this piece out and replaced it. One of the times I didn't notice that and the dryer wasn't turning at all, and I think that's telling you where you need to adjust this whole piece to go in there. Then down below is another piece, this worm drive gear mates up with the worm drive on the frame. I believe it goes like this. And this is also bad if you look at the teeth on it, and I think this is what fixed it. We've already swapped these out. If you look at the tooth, you can see that it doesn't have a very big flat part on it because it's so worn. The clean part of it is the part that's worn, and the dirty part is the part that's not. And the edge of it is kind of sharp, and I think this is what was slipping, and then the machine would clunk. So we're gonna replace that too. To do that, there's a couple of, I would call these C-clips. That lower one you don't touch. It's this first one that's keeping this off. And they make this handy tool here. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. Probably not. And it just comes right out. It's awesome. I've always hated these little C-clip things because they're not a normal C-clip and they're difficult to get off. So now this should just slide off and I can just pop the new one on there and hopefully it will be good as new. Got this worm drive gear back on here. On the other side of this is this sort of interesting double gear where one side mates up with that gear on the other side of the worm drive and then it sticks out a different gear. So it's one piece with two different gears on it. We're going to replace this while we're at it because it's pretty clearly worn. So here's the brand new one. And then one other thing on this metal gear, it has a bearing in it, and I ended up ordering both the bearing and the gear from Noritsu. This, when it came in from Noritsu, it already had the bearing in it, so now I have extra bearings. It was a little pricey, so the fact that the bearing was built into it makes a little sense, I guess. On the back of the machine, there's this sheet metal corner thing that you can take off here that'll get you sort of into that area where the drive for the whole machine is, which I believe is this right here, the belt. I think that's the motor. You don't actually have to do this for what we did. I just didn't know that originally. It is kind of handy that if you get back here, you can move this belt and that moves the whole worm drive. So that worm drive circular thing, I don't know what you call that, was pretty dirty, so I had somebody back there turning that belt, or you can see that belt from here, and I could sort of turn it from there. A little bit easier to have somebody back there. So I turned it while I sort of cleaned it out with a toothbrush. Then I'm gonna add some grease to that and the worm drive gear here. My understanding is that this is not the grease to use, and that if you use this, it will eventually crack your tank. So I think it's this little bit of grease here. It says for chain and gear. And I think that's what's for the worm drive, but I'm not gonna get anything on any of the plastic stuff. There's a little plastic collar on the right side of it there. I've cleaned that off. And there you go. Then I think we're gonna be good to go.